Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So welcome all to this Sunday morning. Last Sunday, today Devaki Prabhu was saying this is the last Sunday of Srimad Bhagavatam of this year. But let us see in a very interesting chapter called the appearance of Lord Varahadev. Okay, Prabhu, we need to switch on this first light alone so that off, so that this will be ready. Okay. So we are reading through third canto, 13th chapter, 28th slokha today. The chapter title is Appearance of Lord Varahadev. Okay, is it okay now, Prabhu? Okay, we'll read to the slokha and then come back to the understanding. Rihanena pradivya padamim virijigran Roda padesha swayamadvaranga Karaladam stropya karla dhringyam Udbhiksha vipran grinato vishatkam Rihanena pradivya padabim vijigran Krodha padesha swayamadvaranga Karaladham stropya karla dhringyam Udbhiksha vipran grinato visatkam. Anybody? Mataji?
Pranena pritya padavim vijigran.
Pranena prithvya padavim vijigran.
Kroda padesha swayamadvaranga.
Krodha pradesha swayamadvaragnaha.
Karaladam slokha karaladvidyam.
Karaladham shrapya karlaladrivyam.
Vipran ganato vishatkama.
Udviksha vipran ghanato visatkam. Mataji, is anybody? Granena pridivya padavim vijigran Krodha padesha swayamadvaranga
Karaladam slokha karaladvidyam. Udviksha vipran ganato vishatkam.
Granena, by smelling, Prithivyaha, of the earth, Padavim, situation, Vijignan, searching after the earth, Krodha apadeshaha, assuming the body of a hog, Swayam, personally, Adhvara, transcendental, Angaha, body, Karala, fearful, Damstra, teeth, tucks, Api, in spite of, Akarala, not fearful, Drivyam, by his glance, Udvikshaya, glancing over, Vipran, all the Brahmana devotees, Granataha, who were engaged in prayers, Avisat, entered, come, the water. Translation. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet, because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee Brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water. I'll read to the purport also. We should always remember that although the body of a hog is material, the hog form of the Lord was not materially contaminated. It is not possible for an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form spreading throughout the sky, beginning from the Satyaloka. His body is always transcendental in all circumstances. Therefore, the assumption of the form of a boar is only his pastime. His body is all Vedas or transcendental. But since he has assumed the form of a boar, he began to search out the earth by smelling just like a hog. The Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity. The gigantic feature of the boar was certainly very fearful for all non-devotees, but to the pure devotees of the Lord, he was not at all fearful. On the contrary, he was so pleasingly glancing upon his devotees that all of them felt transcendental happiness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गधामग्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपथकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा। So Hare Krishna, welcome all again to this morning Bhagavatam session. We are in the third canto, 13th chapter, 28th sloka. So this chapter is entitled The Appearance of Varahadev, and those of you joining in between or those who missed out some of the classes, we thought I'll just give you a quick background of where we are and which section we are going to talk about. So that end of this 1 hour, then you will know that, okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular section is what you're trying to understand. Okay. So Bhagavatam has got the 12 cantos, and which this is falling under the third canto, okay, which is called the main understanding from the Sarga and Visarga, which means the creation and the subcreation part. So this entire third canto is divided into major these 5 sections, where Uddhava is meeting Vidura, whole section, and then the pastimes of Lord Varahadev, followed by Kardama Muni. After this particular entire session of Varahadev's pastimes getting completed, from 13th to 19th chapter, we have wonderful teachings of Lord Kapil Dev to Devati Muni. So this is how the entire section is. And now where we are in this bit, in the middle portion. Exactly third canto's middle portion is where the pastimes of Lord Varahadev begin. Okay. And then in that, this is the first chapter that we are seeing, which means the 13th chapter, from 13 to 19, entirely about what is, how or what is the cause of this particular incarnation and what are all the activities that you do, and specifically focusing on the wonderful fight, wonderful Leela pastime between Hiranyaksha fighting and with Lord Varahadev. Okay, so that is getting glorified by Maitreya Rishi in a very detailed way. Okay, so that is where the section is, and today we are going to specifically talk about on the 13th chapters, one particular sloka. Okay. So in the previous sections, between 5th chapter to 12th chapter is all about creation. So Brahma talks about wonderfully explaining about various creations, and Maitreya Rishi explaining from Brahma what are all the major creations that happen. So in the 12th chapter, the previous chapter, it talks about upon 50 to 57 slokas in which all the creations, major activities happen. Okay, it starts with the 4 Kumaras. Okay, the 4 Kumaras creation, then followed by Lord Shiva, Rudra's manifestation with his creation, and then the body, mind, and then all the other creations, including the Vedas, Upavedas, everything. Finally, at the last section of this 12th chapter, which means the last chapter, the previous chapter, ends with creation or from Brahma's mind and body comes Swayambhu Manu and Satarupa. So this is the foundation of the entire human mankind, the progeny that comes from Swayambhu Manu and Satarupa. So that is the end of that particular chapter. So Maitreya Rishi explains and then just finishes that, okay, so Swayambhu Manu and Satarupa is created, and Lord Brahma, and then the progeny. So that's where it ends. So from the 13th chapter, what happens is, interestingly, Vidura asks more. Like, this is a conversation happening between Vidura and Maitreya Rishi. Okay, when Vidura met Uddhava was advised that you better go and take instructions or take shelter at Maitreya Rishi to get more knowledge, more understanding, more detailed understanding about Supreme Lord and then all the various pastimes. So Uddhava approaches Maitreyi, and all these conversations or story pastimes are all narrated by Maitreyi. Okay, Maitreyi. So the 13th chapter begins with the inquisitiveness or the eagerness of Bhai Vidura. So interestingly, every chapter ends with some concept called as the Falashruti, which means the narration of the pastime, the narration of the Supreme Lord's wonderful Leela, and narration or glorification of the Lord, and glorification of the Lord's devotees, and finally ends with, if somebody hears this, if somebody listens to this, you'll get a lot of this. So it ends with that particular portion, and then that creates the curiosity, which is very important. You research, you understand a story, you read through a particular understanding, and finally, if somebody says, okay, if you keep on reading this, if you understand this, you will get a lot of more good benefits. Just by listening to this particular pastime, you will be liberated. That's how Maitreyi Rishi ends this chapter. So somebody listening to it, what will happen? Naturally, the inquisitiveness should come. Oh, okay, what next? I want to read more. I want to listen more. I want to understand more. Which is very nice. And then Uddhava demonstrates that. So he is very, he just says, okay, now whatever you have told about Satarupa and Swayambhu Manu, what exactly they did and what is the next steps they did. So he, kind of a natural chain from previous chapter to this chapter. And then Maitreyi also is very happy to explain the next sections. So in leading to that, Manu, the Swayambhu Manu is asking some specific pointers. Like what am I supposed to do? This is what we have seen in the last few months of this particular chapter. So this chapter has got around 50 slokas, in which starts from what is the conversation between Maitreyi Rishi and Uddhava, and then in which subsequently Lord Brahma giving instructions to Swayambhu Manu and Satarupa. So Swayambhu Manu and Satarupa are born out of Brahma, and then they want to know what we are supposed to do. We are there to serve you. Okay, this entire mankind is followed or named through Swayambhu Manu. So Swayambhu Manu asks this question: we are ready to serve, but what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And then Brahma gives specific instructions. Brahma glorifies Swayambhu Manu that you are the best son, and then you are the hero, and then from you, the entire progeny, the entire human mankind, the entire population has to start. So you start the progeny, you start getting all the human form. Okay, in that he asks. And then Manu is specifically mentioned, for me to get people, we need a place. And where is the place? The place is the earth, the Bhuloka. But unfortunately, what happened? That Bhumandala or the Bhuloka is submerged into water by Hiranyaksha. This is the background. And so Brahma is thinking, what am I supposed to do? What is that? So we need population. I need to do the progenium. But for the people to live, we need a place. Right? So immediately when he was thinking about it, in the previous chapters, we have seen Lord Varahadev comes from the nostril, comes from the nose of Brahma. Right? So he comes from the nose of Brahma, and then immediately he expands like this. He takes a very big, gigantic form. And everybody are astonished, including the Devatas, the demigods, including the rishis, munis, everybody. Okay, and then he starts playing in the water. So that is what this section we are talking about. He just comes out, he jumps into the ocean, he takes up his tail, he's doing all kind of things. Okay, and then the ocean god also becomes very fearful. So that particular portion, and then this particular section quickly talks about one particular sloka. He leaves the Mother Earth, he kills Hiranyaksha, and then saves. That's all. So this particular section is just one particular thing. But in a very detailed way, in the coming chapters, how and what is the way of the fight between Lord Varahadev and then Hiranyaksha is explained in a very detailed way in the next chapter. But here, it is just all about just a glimpse, introduction, that's all. So that this will give you a little more thought, oh, okay, something is going to happen. What is it? Right? So Maitreyi just mentions this. Okay, and then the last portion is all about, as I mentioned, the Lord will go back. So Lord will go back, and then the Falashruti portion. So where we are, there are two Varahadevs. I think in the previous sections also we would have seen. We'll go a little bit detail into what is or how do we understand this Shweta Varahadev and Neela Varahadev. That actually three colors the Lord Varahadev exhibits. When he comes as the white Shweta Varaha. When he starts fighting with, when he goes inside the water, we start searching and we start fighting and all, the red. Okay. Okay, the Rakta Varna. Rakta Varna means the red color. The red, wherever you see mostly the photos, you'll see the red color varahadev. And then finally, when everything goes down, then he cools down, he takes up the Shama Varna, the blue form. Okay, that is also mentioned in the slokha. So we are in between. We are in between, exactly between the 16th and the 30th sloka. So past tense of Shweta Varaha. So the Varahadev has come out from Brahma's nostril and he is diving into the ocean and he's taking up the earth. Okay, that is where we are. So this is the sloka, and the sloka, some specific sections are very important. Every sloka has got a way of understanding. One is what is the glorification, what is the explanation from a word to word meaning, and finally, what is that we are trying to understand from the purport, from the translation by Srila Prabhupada, and then also the purport. Interestingly, here the translation is the Supreme Lord comes as the form of Varahadev, which is very transcendental. Obviously, it is transcendental. He takes the form, he does this searching of the earth by smelling. Okay, this is at the top level. And then he glances over the devotee brahmanas, specifically the word brahmanas. Here, Prabhupada uses the word devotee brahmanas, which means they are not fearful of the form. Suddenly, some huge form, something like you've seen in cartoon movies or any form, suddenly some transformer, some form comes. Everybody will get astonished. Everybody will say, what is this? We have never seen this kind of form. The same thing when we go to Narsingha Leela. Nobody assumed like somebody like with a lion head and the full form of a body will come. Right? Same way, when suddenly when from Brahma's nostril, suddenly somebody sitting, suddenly something comes out of your nostril, what will happen? Right? So like that, everybody are astonished. But here Prabhupada is mentioning, even though initially they were astonished, but the moment they understood that he is the Supreme Lord, they become very happy. But for the others, they become very frightened. The same form seen by one particular set of people, another set of people differentiates their love and affection, their understanding, their knowledge, everything comes out. Right? So that is where Prabhupada is using the word devotee brahmanas engaged in prayers. Okay? In the translation, the Advaranga means the transcendental form. So Prabhupada is bringing out very nicely what is the essence of this particular understanding. Okay. The first thing is we should always remember that the body of form is not material. So whenever we understand the Supreme Lord's form, first thing is it is above the material modes, above this material understanding, above the gunas, the three gunas, sattva guna, raja guna, tamo guna. First thing. So it is not contaminated. Even though he descends, even though he plays, even though he does all kind of activities similar to any other normal human being or any other person, his form is Sachidanandam. That is, he wants to establish that. Even though it is like that, he is doing like, since he has taken the form of a hog, okay, he has taken a form of a particular material body, whatever that particular body does, he will do. Okay, so this applies to the other forms of Lord Supreme Krishna also. Like when Krishna came, he himself descended. When he was in Dwaraka, he did like any other normal human person. Okay, he was doing all his activities. Similarly, here Prabhupada is also bringing that he took the form of a hog. So what is the hog form will do? We'll go and search. We'll dig out. We'll go and smell, and then try to find out its food. Like same way, what does Lord Varahadev? He just plunges into water. He just keeps searching here and there, smelling, and then takes out Mother Earth. Okay, so that is where and then Prabhupada is making this very important, wonderful line. The Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity. Which means whatever form he takes Kurma Avtar. So when he takes Kurma, what does he do? He just goes under the mantra mountain. He just maintains that particular mantra mountain to have that as a pivot, and then the activities is done. When he takes the Narsinghadev avatar, same thing he does. When he takes the Matsya avatar, he takes the same thing. So whatever form he takes, he does it so perfectly. What is the purpose and what is the reason behind it? He does it and then he finishes it. Yesterday, Devika Prabhu was mentioning about wonderful Leela about the pastime between Prithu Maharaj and Indra. Right? So in that also, Prithu Maharaj's role was so perfect. He wanted to ensure the entire earth, the mankind is completely nourished, everything is available. So for which he has to perform yajnas, he does that activity. Okay. So wherever you see any kind of large incarnations, large plenary portions, whatever he did is absolutely perfect. Right? So that is what is very important. The third point, as you mentioned, whatever form he comes, as devotees, we are supposed to relish, or we are supposed to take that particular beauty, right? Don't see it as some kind of a material contamination or material way of that particular thing. Okay, for example, we see Lord Jagannath. Others whomsoever see, they will never be able to understand. Hey, what is this black color? What is this? No eyes. What is this? No proper hands. What is this? No proper legs. But this is the most beautiful form Jagannath that we can always see. Right? He's wonderful. His eyes is always open. So when you get the knowledge, when you get the faith, you will be able to appreciate the form of the Lord. When you see Krishna in different forms, when you see the large forms in different forms, without the basic understanding of who or what is it, we will never be able to appreciate it. Right? Second is about the faith. The more and more you get faith, more and more appreciation will come. More and more appreciation will come, more and more love and devotion will come. Otherwise, we will never get that. Right? So that is how we see the different forms, and through the form, what is that we are trying to release? Everybody will say, I'm very fond of Lord Rama, wonderful. I'm very fond of Lord Nrsimhadev, wonderful. I'm very fond of Lord Krishna. And some of them, if you go to North India, they'll say Krishna in Mathura is wonderful. Krishna in Dwarkadesh is Thakur, is wonderful. Krishna in Rajasthan, he is different. Srinathji. Right? The same Krishna when it comes to Udupi, the same Krishna when it comes to South India is a different form. But everybody are glorifying the same. So everybody have their own way of taking up the devotion. But everybody are devotees. Okay? That is how we understand the form and the glory. Okay. And before this, how do we understand this chapter also? Very nicely we need to understand. Quick point, like whatever we have gone through this particular chapter sections. The first is about Vidura's spiritual inquiry. As I mentioned in this chapter, 5 major things. One is Vidura's conversation with Maitreya. Second is the conversation between Swayambhu Manu and Brahma. Third is Lord Varahadev's coming out. Fourth is prayers by the rishis. And fifth is the final conclusion. So how do we see this particular section? First section is about Vidura's spiritual inquiry, which is very nice. So as I mentioned earlier, when Vidura understands that, okay, Satarupa and Swayambhu Manu is distinct, he gets more curious. Okay, so the more curiosity is there, the more understanding we wanted to get. Okay? So what is the first lesson that we get? The more you listen, the more curiosity should come. The more your curiosity should come, and more you want to listen more, in a simple way. So this is wonderfully exhibited by Uddhava. But how do we do is, he goes and humbly makes a very humble submission. Right? In the previous sections also very important. We want to understand, we want to get to know about the Lord. The first thing is about curiosity. Second is about attentiveness. Third is all about inquisitiveness with submission. So he makes a very humble submission. In that submission also, the previous sections would have seen, one who gets an opportunity to listen from the Acharya, one who gets an opportunity to listen from his spiritual master. Most important thing is what he listens from that particular Acharya. Listening about the Supreme Lord's activities, listening about the Supreme Lord's wonderful Leela and the devotion is the best thing that somebody can get from a spiritual master. You go and ask your spiritual master. You get an opportunity to pay obeisance to your spiritual master, your guru. Okay? Instead of inquiring with so many other things, if you get a chance to listen about Krishna, that is the most important or the best thing that the ears can get for a disciple. That is again mentioned specifically by Prabhupada in the first section. Okay. So from Vidura, first section, Vidura wonderfully performs that. He asks very submissively, I want to listen more. Even in the next section also, even everywhere throughout Bhagavatam, if you see, the more and more Parikshit Maharaj listens. Okay. This entire conversation, everything is wonderfully listened by Parikshit Maharaj from Sukadeva Goswami. So every canto ending, Parikshit will be more inquisitive. Oh, yes, I want to listen more. What happened to this? How does it happen? Why does it happen? Can you elaborate more? With more inquisitiveness and submissiveness. The more submissiveness, the more faith comes. And the more faith comes, more knowledge will come. Otherwise, in this chapter itself, Maitreya should say, yeah, Lord Varahadev came, he killed Hiranyaksha, that's all. Okay, let's go, next one. No. He would have done it, right? But interestingly, Uddhava talks, I want to know a little more. What exactly is the fight? How does the fight happen? And why this happen? And how do I understand this Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu? Okay, let me go a little more detail. Then next section talks about how this Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu was born. How did the four Kumaras went to Lord Vishnu? What happened there? How did they got the curse? So the elaboration takes there, right? So elaboration takes all because of this inquisitiveness. If you don't have that inquisitiveness and submissiveness, the elaboration will not go. For example, a teacher comes and says, okay, 4 plus 4 is 2, 4 plus 4 is 8, that's all. Okay, take homework, done. Means that's all. But if somebody asks, how did it come? Then the teacher will explain more. And the more the explanation, the more the knowledge. Right? So that is where we get the first understanding. The lesson what? The more and more you get inclusiveness, the more and more knowledge came. The more and more detailing of the Purana. The detailing came from first point. The second aspect of this particular chapter is where a conversation between Brahma and Swayambhu. A very few section, only 6 to 7 slokas, but wonderfully in that section also, what we understand. What do we understand? When Swayambhu and Satarupa came out from Lord Brahma he just okay, and then immediately the first and foremost thing what they do is as a son. So Brahma glorifies Swayambhu. You are the best son. So when he is the best son, what is he as a son, as a person? He is asking, what am I supposed to do? So when Swayambhu asked this question, Brahma would have directly told, okay, go, your job is to do progeny, go. No. He says you have to please Lord Janardana. If somebody is asking you, okay, do this activity, means you will say, okay, I'll do this activity. But what is the purpose of that activity is also wonderfully explained by Lord Brahma. Doing progenium, doing creation is the main job. But what is the purpose of that job? Is to plead the Supreme Lord. So the purpose is told first and then the job comes. The role is there, the responsibility is there, but what is the purpose of the responsibility is first told by Lord Brahma. Everywhere you see, he will mention this. So interestingly, Brahma also mentions that whatever activity that we do, it has to please the Supreme Lord. That's the first point he mentions. And then he also mentions you are the best person to do it. Okay. So this is again, you see, if you are giving a job to a particular person, 3 things has to understand. What is this? The person to whom you are giving, then the action, what exact action, and then what is the reason or the purpose of that particular action. All 3 are the qualification of that person, the purpose, and then what is the actual act. So Lord Brahma, within 3 slokas, he finishes that. Hey, you are supposed to do this, you are supposed to do this for this person, but you are the best person. So it gives the motivation, it gives the encouragement for that particular person. Lord Swami Munu, and they are very happy. Yes, we will definitely do it. Okay. 3 conversations wonderfully mentioned. And then when they want to do, what is that they want to do? When they want to increase the population, they need the earth, they need the place. So then they submissively ask, say, we want to do it, but we need a place. Then Brahma starts thinking. We are still in the chapter only. Okay, we have the second section of the chapter. So then immediately Brahma thinks, what am I supposed to do? So this is where the instruction portion comes, and then the Lord is mentioned as Janardana. Okay, so Manu is urged to protect. Manu is urged to develop and then protect also, which is the ultimate goal of everybody. Okay, that is the main portion. So the next section of this particular chapter is starts thinking. So what does Brahma thinks? Okay, we need a place. Yes, agreed. But how does it do? Somehow the earth has to be brought out. So the moment he starts thinking, contemplating, Lord Varahadev. I think this is also wonderfully explained in the previous slokas. So Lord Varahadev comes. Okay. So when Lord Varahadev comes, this section is very nicely mentioned, and this is getting elaborated very detailedly in the coming chapters. You will see the wonderful conversations, and then the fight also happening. Okay. You should all remember a word called as Vana Gochara. Today, whatever you understand or not, when you go back, okay, Varahadwadasi will come in the next few weeks. Okay, the Lord appearance Varahadev, Varahadwadasi. He's glorified as Vana Gochara. You go and contemplate on this particular word, Vana Gochara, where Hiranyaksha actually, when there is an angry mood between Hiranyaksha and Varahadev, Hiranyaksha will scold, or Hiranyaksha will just shout at, hey, Vana Gochara, which means you are a forest animal. Okay. But the explanation behind that particular word, our Acharya has given so detailed explanation that how does Hiranyaksha actually glorifies the Supreme Lord. Okay, you will come to that. Okay, I'm just giving you a small tip. So if you keep coming to the next year, all the Bhagavatam classes, if you come in January month, you will know what is the understanding of Vanagochara. Okay. So he comes out. So when he comes out, what does he do? Like as per the sloka, when Lord Varahadev comes out, he just sees here and there, and as the form rises to a very large extent, and everybody are astonished. And when everybody are astonished, what does he do? He just jumps into the ocean. He just starts playing like a big giant elephant. He starts playing around, and then he takes his tail. He just taps, and then he just splits the ocean. When he splits the ocean god also becomes very, very frightened. So this is immediately when, and the roaring, okay, very nicely, the word roaring is also mentioned. Roaring means making a very tumultuous sound, big sound. When Narsinghadev came out, he also made a very big sound. Everybody were astonished. Okay, including the Devatas, Brahma, everybody were astonished. Here also the same thing. When Lord Varahadev was so big sound, everybody was astonished. But the moment they saw that he is the Supreme Lord, when all others become very afraid, we'll come to that particular section very nicely. When all others become afraid, the devotees become very happy. They become so joyful. Wow, wonderful form. Nobody has seen this wonderful form. And they all start praying. Okay. So the same way, Narsinghadev, when he came, when others were frightened, this section also, Lord Varahadev sees, he makes his face so angry one time, and then one side he's having a very smiling side glance. Okay, the word here is also mentioned, side glance. Then one glance he's seeing the rishis and munis doing the prayers, and immediately makes a wonderful smile to them. One side his angry face, other side is very happy to see his devotees. So that is where we see the Lord's reciprocation. The Lord's reciprocation for everybody, individually it varies. Right? How do you see Lord Jagannath? All depends upon how do we want to get the mercy from him. Today the color is like this, today the flower is turned this side, the hand is turned like this. If you start seeing that, you will see only that. Okay. So little bit detail in this particular section. We're talking about sloka number 28. Okay, only 28. I'm not going to go to the other portions. In this, four main things. One is his body is all Vedas, transcendental in all circumstances. Which means when the Lord takes any kind of a body form, he is always transcendental, and it is always beyond the modes. Okay, and then as I mentioned, he plays a perfect play in part of the living entity. Whatever form he takes. So Prabhupada, in his one of his lectures on the same Varaha Dwadasi day, he gave a lecture, and in this lecture he's giving a small story. Okay, a small story, and then he wants to reference that particular story to this one. Okay, so that time there was this. I think it is this in London or in the Europe region. The Prime Minister was called Gladstone. Okay, so that Prime Minister was there. So Prabhupada is giving an example. So the Prime Minister of the country, he's got a high position and everything. But when he goes back to his home, he has his own grandchildren or grandson. So the grandson will come and say, "Okay, grandfather, I want to play horse. I want to play horse, or I want to play." So immediately, what will happen? The grandfather will act like a horse. So the grandson will sit on him, and then he will do tat 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 tat. Prabhupada is also using the word tat 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 tat. Okay, so perfectly he will play the role of a horse, and he'll go around. Everybody would have seen, right? When you go in your childhood, your grandfather would have played, or your grandmother, whomsoever would have played, or your uncle's chacha, whomsoever would have played. And then somebody will say, "Okay, tat tat tat," also, and then they'll make the sound also. They'll go around. So Prabhupada is making this and saying, so similarly, when the Lord takes up the form of a hog, he does it so perfectly, making the sound, making the noise, doing all kind of things like a particular hog will do. But does he really mean that he is the hog? No, right? He is the Supreme Lord. Same way Prabhupada is also, he is the Prime Minister of the country. When somebody is seeing outside, what will they assume? Yeah, what is this? He's doing. He's just playing with this. He's the most important person in the country, but he's playing like a horse, right? Same way, if somebody is not able to understand the Lord's form, not able to understand the Lord's purpose behind these forms, they will say, "Hey, what is this?" I know in India, many people still in South India, many people doesn't know the wonderful form of Lord Jagannath. When we take Buddhist Bhushan, when we show some photos, they might assume this is, most of them they like Hanuman. And like somebody will get confused between Hayagriva and Lord Varahadev. Many of them will not even know the form of Lord Hayagriva. And many of them will not know the form of Lord Varahadev itself. Right? Because what? Because of lack of knowledge. Because lack of understanding. But moment you get the understanding knowledge, immediately the faith will grow. The more and more you listen, the more and more you will understand. Okay. So the second portion of this particular section is about what does he do? He becomes so big. And then the sloka is also very interestingly mentions about two important aspects. One is Karala Damstra and Akarla Damstra. Okay. Karala Damstra. Okay. In the same thing when we take Lord Nrsimhadev. Initially, when somebody sees Lord Nrsimhadev, everybody will go. And in fact, in India, they'll say, no, don't keep Nrsimhadev photo. Very dangerous. Nothing will happen actually. But that's the most auspicious thing that we should have. He's the protector. Right? In that sloka, Karala Dhamstra. Okay? Karala Dhamstra is most fearful for the non-devotees. And here this sloka, Prabhupada is, Maitreya is mentioning about Akarla. Okay? The same thing for the devotees is most beautiful. Okay? So when you go to Nrsimhadev, when you go to Mayapur, when you see Lord Nrsimhadev, same red eyes. Okay? For others, you say, oh, very, very dangerous form. But for us, he's the most beautiful. He's the most having the beautiful smile. Right? Same in South India, there is this in South Tamil Nadu, there is one of the Divya Kshetram is called as Bhuvarahaswami, a place called Srimushnam. If you get a chance to go to South India Yatra, please go to the Srimushnam. Srimushnam is a place where Lord Varahadev's appearance, one of the appearances, most important place from the Shiva Vaishnava Sampradaya called Bhuvarahaswami. Same if you go to Tirupati also. Most of you would have gone to Tirupati. In Tirupati, even before Lord Balaji came, Varahadev was there. Many, many millions and millions of yugas before. Okay. So Varahadev came, and the first deity installed the first Swayambhu. Swayambhu means by nature, by default, by himself came. In Tirupati, in Tirumala, not in Tirupati, in Tirumala is Varahaswami. So before you actually, if you ask any of the South Indians, they will say, even before you visit Lord Balaji, you take darshan of Balaji, you're supposed to take darshan of Varahadev and then only go and stand in the queue. And once you enter the queue, it is all at the Lord's mercy. That's all. So next time you get an opportunity to go to Tirupati, first go to Lord Varahadev and then go to the darshan of Balaji. Okay? So, Vajra Nakam, Vajra Damshta. Vajra Damshta means that fear was. Naka means, the nails, right? The same nails, the same hands. Okay? So, that is what we are seeing in this particular sloka. Okay. And then I'll talk about a small pastime in Krishna Leela also. In Vrindavan, there are three main temples or places related to Lord Varahadev. One is this. So if you go to Raman Reti, from ISKCON temple, you start with Parikrama Marg. From Parikrama Marg, when we start, the first thing is our ISKCON temple. Then there is a place called as Krishna Balram tree. Okay, one black and white tree will be mixed with. And when you take a turn towards ISKCON Goshala, before Kalia Ghat, very, very close by. On the left-hand side, you will see a small place called as Varaha Ghat. There is no Ghat, there is no river now. The Yamuna has gone a little far away, but that location is called as Varaha Ghat. Even now also, if you go to Vrindavan, Kalia Ghat will be there, but Yamuna will be a little far away. Okay. It's the same way this place is called as before ISKCON Goshala. Like if you take a Bhaktivedanta hospice, one corner, there's a small temple. And here, Lord Varahadev's form. So this is where one day Krishna and his friends, Krishna will go and play in the mud. Okay, playing all taking all the mud here and then will play, and then all his friends will come and say, "What is this? Like a pig you are playing?" So and then Krishna say, how dare you call me as a pig? You know who I am? I am Lord Varahadev. I know you are only Krishna. Okay, no, don't tell. Then they will be conversing like this. And then immediately Krishna will say, "Oh, you want to see who I am? Okay." Immediately he will take this Varahadev form and then show it to his group of friends for that particular moment at that particular second. Okay. And then immediately then he'll come back. Okay. And then so this is a nice, wonderful pastime that happened there in this place in Vrindavan, particularly in the Parikrama market, just behind our Krishna Balaram Mandir. So there, if you turn, you will see the beautiful deity of Varahadev there, the four-handed Chaturbhuja form of Varahadev. Okay, and then the two other wonderful places in Mathura. Okay. One is Shvetavaraha and Adivaraha. Adivaraha, both are in Mathura. If you happen to go towards Akrura Ghat, and then it is one of the, now it is in some of the small streets, small gullies in Mathura. And this Adivaraha is also called as Kapila Varaha, which means in one way Lord Kapila requested or asked for a manifestation that happened, and this is the Adi Varaha Swami temple, which is very famous. If you go in Mathura, you ask anybody, they will simply guide you how to go to this Adi Varaha temple. And then there is another one called as Shvetavaraha. In Shvetavaraha, if you see on the top here, if you see, Shvetavaraha is the white color form. Okay, so in this you will see here in the bottom portion, he is stamping on Hiranyaksha. You will see this mustache fellow here. He is Hiranyaksha. So Lord Varahadev is putting his head on that particular demon, and on his nose he is taking the entire movement. Okay, and he has got his Gada, he has got his Shankha Chakra, everything. The same thing on this is again from the Treta Yuga time. Lord Shatrughna, somebody in the history is mentioned. It was established, it was installed during Shatrughna time. Shatrughna means during the Ramayana period. Okay, during the Ramayana period, this Adi Varaha Swami temple was, this particular deity installation happened. Okay, so one quick understanding that I wanted to get is how do we differentiate? And this I think the detailed portion would have been told earlier, but just to repeat. We'll have this Shvetavaraha and Nilavaraha. Nilavaraha is the blue form. He takes after killing Hiranyaksha. Shvetavaraha is the first one. Okay, that happened during the Swayambhu Manu period. It means that's a special occurrence. But every time when you read through Bhagavatam, where you see, it is all about the Raktavarna, the red color form, which is fighting with Hiranyaksha. Okay, that is getting glorified, and that is what repeats every other period. And we are in Vaivastha. Okay, we are in the current period is Vaivastha period. But whatever happened is in the Chakshushamana period. That also in addition. So first one is during the Swayambhu period, and then whatever you keep repeating again and again. That is what Prabhupada also mentions in the next slokas. So Maitri Rishi and during the conversation, what is Jiva Goswami actually identifies that, and Prabhupada mentions that he amalgamated, means he mixed both the Varaha forms. But for us, it is all the same. Okay. So this is what you will see, you will understand. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also mentions about the amalgamation. Amalgamation means just mixing about both the Leela pastimes. That's all. Okay. Happen in different periods, but understanding is he's the same Supreme Lord. So maybe a little bit, like next 5 minutes, we'll just quickly understand. We have this super wonderful forms of the Supreme Lord, but Prabhupada also makes it very nicely. Okay. Most important is we see so many forms, but what is that we take? Whatever that we understand, everything emanates from Krishna. In yesterday's class also, Devika Prabhu was wonderfully explaining about the 10 chapters glories. In 10 chapters glories, he was focusing on from Lord Krishna, the the Karnadakshay Vishnu, then the Garbhodakshay Vishnu, then the Shirodakshay Vishnu. And from him, the Balram comes, and from Balram, then the Sankarshna comes, then the Lord Narayana comes, and from Lord Narayana, all the other wonderful expansions keep coming and coming and then coming. So when all those expansions come, okay, most importantly, who is the Supreme Lord? Who is the origin? Is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Okay, and what is the purpose? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkartam. Okay, that is one aspect. The second aspect is he has a purpose, and once that purpose is finished, he just gets glorified, and then the act gets completed. In a way, the devotional aspect is also brought out. In a way, the glorification is also brought out. In a way, whenever we sit and listen to each of the pastimes, we also get that nourishment. We also get that spiritual nourishment. Okay? Today, we start with Lord Varahadev. This will go for next 2 to 3 months, glorifying Lord Varahadev. Okay? But whenever we try to understand Lord Varadev's glorious pastimes, all that we need to understand is the Supreme Lord, Krishna. What is the source from whom everything is coming? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Okay? So when we go through that understanding, we also have to remember Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why we have to remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We are all sitting here because of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay? So going through Bhagavatam is always remembrance of each of the devotees, each of the wonderful pastimes, glory, and then understanding Krishna, and also understanding Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is very, very important. Without Mahaprabhu's mercy, without Mahaprabhu's compassion, we will never be sitting here. And who is Mahaprabhu? He is Krishna himself. There is no doubt about it. Right? So when we understand the purpose behind this, then we'll be able to appreciate. And even in the wonderful Krishna's form also, the Shyama Sundara form. There are so many beautiful forms, but Prabhupada appreciates very specifically mention about whatever you see here. Right? Even in Krishna book, in either book, Prabhupada himself, this is the very specific way he's being. Now you will see various kinds of forms. But most importantly, the whatever you see here is considered as like Prabhupada's favorite. Okay. And then Krishna's position. So every form will have a particular, every avatar or every expansion, plenary expansion will have a particular purpose. And then once that purpose is done and the role is done, it will go. And then the qualities, and then the power that they exhibit is also varies. But everything is emanating from the Supreme Lord. Okay, that is what we need to understand. Okay, so that is where we need to differentiate or understand between Lord Krishna's incarnations that come, and then the power of the Supreme Lord. Okay. So why we focus on Krishna is because he is the Supreme Lord. He is the source of everything. And then once he is understanding he is the source, and from that source we will be able to get the complete devotion service. Okay, so that is where we need to understand. Okay, I think these things we can skip through. I think we are almost run through this. Okay, so I'll try to conclude with these 5 major points. What are the 5 major points as I mentioned earlier? The first is conversation. Between Maitreya and Vidura, what is the lesson that we take? The submissive inquiry, eagerness to listen, and then eagerness to listen more and more with attention. That's the first one that we saw. Then we saw conversation between Brahma and Swami Manu, which also has got submissiveness, humility, eagerness to serve, and then serving the Supreme Lord. So serving the Supreme Lord is Lord Janardana. Okay, and that is the prime supreme occupation that we understood. And then we saw specifically on today's sloka number 28. Lord Varahadev comes and listening to that particular Lord's pastimes. Just by attentively listening, what is it? What is that falashruti that we get? Is we are getting liberated. We are moving out of this material world. Just by listening, that's all. You don't have to understand what is this happened, what is that happened. I'm not able to recite the sloka, nothing. So in conclusion of this particular chapter, the glorification is happening. And in the glorification also very detailedly, the rishis glorify about the Supreme Lord's form. In the sense, his nostril is this, his tongue is like this, his ears are like this, his body is like this. So a section of about 10 slokas, glorification of Lord's form. Okay. In that form also, they're comparing his form to some specific wonderful entities. And then you listen to that prayers, we will also get that encouragement. And then finally, liberation or moving out of this particular material world. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is the last, hopefully from the next year, all of you pray to the Supreme Lord that continue to listen to Lord Varahadev's pastimes. We'll have Varaha Dwadasi, I think in the next 2, 3, after 2, 3 Ekadasi, after this Ekadasi, next Ekadasi Dwadasi, I think month end, January, you'll have Varaha Dwadasi. Varaha Dwadasi is the appearance of Lord Varahadev's period. Okay? And then let's all pray, continue this Bhagavatam listening, and then attentively coming in 2026, and then pray at the lotus feet about Jagannath, and wish you all happy Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Any realizations, please? Questions also. Anything?
So it's like serving Krishna as a supreme occupation. You have the summary in the last one.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, it says serving Lord and then serving Krishna as supreme occupation. So can you elaborate on that? What do you mean?
Okay, this is again, if we go to Bhagavatam, see, whatever actions that we try to do, whatever work that we try to do, should culminate in pleasing the Supreme Lord. Okay, in Bhagavatam also, what is exactly mentioning is, when we try to perform an action, the purpose of that action is initially without the knowledge, it will be like more and more pleasing, or only pleasing the particular body, or more from a sense gratification perspective, right? But when you go into a detailing of how do we understand that when we perform an action and that action is pleasing the Lord, which means you try to do some activity, and then that activity in one way is above the material platform or above the karma activities, and that pleases the Lord, which will help a particular person to do devotion more. Okay, so when we say more devotion here, it means any kind of an action that we try to do, the ultimate goal of our human form of life, ultimate goal of our going out of the material world, all depends upon two aspects. What is the first aspect? First aspect is about understanding the Lord, getting His mercy, getting the faith, and with that faith we do devotion service. So two aspects. One is getting everything from the Lord, from His Lord's devotees, from the acharyas, everything. Second is about performance of that action. So devotion service here means getting this understanding, performance of actions. Both go hand in hand. So when you say performance of action, it has dependency on the first one. What is the dependency? Knowledge, faith, devotion, appreciation, everything. Action also is very important. So when you say action, the action that is focused on pleasing the Lord, which means you try to do some activity and that activity is focused only on my own sense gratification, it is not going to help us in any way. But the same action with the knowledge, when you try to do in pleasing the Lord, whatever be it, then that becomes transcendental, that becomes devotion service. In a way where in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, very elaborately, what is being defined is, you do an action when that action is focused in pleasing the Lord. For example, you do any activity, whatever activity. For example, you give me any activity. Let us say any activity: eating, sleeping, walking, in a very elaborate way, if you go, any activity, you can bring in Krishna into the picture. I walk. What is the purpose of walking? What is the purpose of walking? Huh? Good health. And what is the purpose of good health? To serve Lord. So wherever we go, when you connect that particular action towards the Lord, then the purpose is completely solved. Purpose is fulfilled. Okay, that is one aspect. Second aspect of Prabhu is asking is the dharma portion, swadharma, supreme occupation. Everybody are having a particular defined based on their swabhava. Swabhava means the quality, the embedded quality, and then the quality based on which they try to perform an action. So based on the swabhava and then the role and the position, they have a defined occupation. And within that occupation also, there are different levels. One occupation is based on your current role. Like let's say you are a grihastha, you are a vanaprastha, you are a particular ashrama and varna, you have a defined one. And within that defined one is the ultimate goal of performing that action that goes and leads to pleasing the Lord. Let's say I am a grihastha, let's say I am a vanaprastha, I am in the Shudra, everybody are in the Shudra stage. But a grihastha in a Shudra state, what he has to do? A grihastha in a Brahmana state, what he has to do? A vanaprastha in a particular. So in the matrix, if you go, whatever be it, that particular action is dovetailed or gone towards the Lord, then that is absolutely dharma. So when you say swadharma, that is what we need to understand. Everybody are now 99% in a way where we are, whatever action that you perform is more towards material way of understanding, material way of contamination. But all those material contamination activities, when we try to put towards the Supreme Lord, then we are okay. That is one aspect. The other aspect is, by default, the Jivatma's occupation is to serve the Lord. Okay, we are all the servants of the Supreme Lord by nature, by default. That is how it's like. So if you see in that perspective also, we are supposed to do the seva to the Supreme Lord. So that knowledge will come only if we get all this understanding. Anyway, we are going to serve somebody, better to serve the Supreme Lord. Okay, so this is my realization.
Say any activity that we do can be used to please the Lord.
Yes.
This is not entering.
Any activity.
Any activity can be used to please the Lord.
Yes, Prabhu. Any activity that we try to do, we will definitely, when we try to put it in the right context and perspective, we will be able to please the Lord. For example, as I mentioned, even while sleeping also, sleeping is an activity. How do I please the Lord? My Guru Maharaj demonstrated that. Like when he was sleeping also, he was doing his thinking and feeling was in the Supreme Lord. Arjuna demonstrated that. When he was sleeping also, when he was murmuring, when he was thinking about the Supreme Lord. So sleeping is a normal dormant activity. But even in that activity also, we will be able to please the Lord. Because we are thinking about the Lord. So pleasing the Lord here means not performing direct action also. Thinking about the Lord or chanting about the Lord is also pleasing the Lord. Let's say you are sleeping. There is no action happening. But still some inner thinking is happening. What is that thinking? If you are thinking about the Lord, a few weeks back somebody was asking this wonderful question of, while sleeping I get dreams. In dreams, how do I ensure that there are no bad dreams? There are no negative things. And how do I ensure that dreams also serve the Lord? So for that, we were discussing. And then before you go to sleep, you do some nice thing. You read Bhagavatam or you do one round of chanting or whatever read. Your sleep will be good. Your dream also will be good. So in dream also, nothing bad will come. You'll think about the Lord. So that means we are pleasing the Lord. Take any other action, whatever action, when we are able to go a little more detail, then we'll be able to do any other action, Prabhu. Any action. You tell me any action. We'll try to understand. Any action. Sleeping we have seen. Walking we have seen.
If we are going to school, going to work. So if we are we just rationalizing that this will please the Lord?
Of course. Yes, we have to have that rationalization that, oh, I go to the law, I go to the work, I perform this action, and then if I do this action as per the dharma, when I'm satyam, when I'm truthful, when I'm faithful, it pleases the Lord. When I'm against dharma, when I'm lying, when I'm cheating, does it please the Lord? It doesn't please the Lord.
What's the connection between I going to work or I going to school and it being the supreme occupation?
Yeah. So I go to school, I work, and what is the purpose of working? The purpose of working is finally I give something to the Lord, or I do some action to please the Lord. But when I do it, two aspects. One is while doing itself, I'm actually living. While living also, I'm thinking about the Lord. When I'm thinking about the Lord also, whatever action that I perform is also at the end happy, because I'm always be very truthful. I'm always very what do you say, truthful, and then I'm very loyal also. Right? When I do the job, I'm very perfect in whatever I'm doing. So as a person, if I am perfect, Krishna says that itself is good. He says, okay, you are in, for example, in Bhagavad Gita in 13th chapter, whomsoever having these wonderful qualities, this is all the knowledge that somebody is getting, that is the most best thing that anybody can do. Because if you are very truthful, if you are able to, otherwise we will never be happy. Right? For example, if somebody is very good, which means what? Krishna is giving them everything. How does the reciprocation we will be able to see? If you are a very nice person, who's taking care of you? Krishna is taking care of us. So that belief is there. So definitely Krishna is pleased. If we are truthful, if we are honest, if you are loyal, performing our actions in a correct way, Krishna is definitely pleased. Otherwise, we will never be able to see that happiness, see that satisfaction in us. Okay, Prabhu? Still. Okay, we will discuss a little more later. Yes, Mataji.
I wanted to add to what Prabhuji was asking, like how to go to, if we go to work and how to go to school, how can we serve the Lord? So what I realized is that, okay, first we need to do the work with honesty, with truthfulness. That is one aspect. The second could be that if we earn the money, we can serve the Lord. We can sponsor the prasadam, we can buy the Bhagavad book, so we can specialize our action. So the same way, like you were telling, all the actions I think can be spiritualized. That will be the service.
Yeah, that is the result portion. But Prabhu is asking everything that what we try to do itself, how does it please the Lord? Like, so that is where the point is.
I have one question. So, like you also mentioned yesterday, or when Prabhu was mentioning that the truth is how we perceive it, and the same is with the Lord, how we perceive it. So, for all the devotees, the Lord is there, and we all have faith in Him. But for the non-devotees, for the atheists who do not believe in the Lord, and I think the God will reciprocate the same way. He will give the logics to them to feel that the God is not there. But then, how will they initiate their spiritual path? How will they follow Krishna and how will they come to this part of their
There are again from reference from Rupa Goswami's point in Nectar of Devotion, he's giving this particular thing. One is for the atheist, for somebody who is complete non-believer. Okay, one is because of his current status and because of his past karma, he is in this situation that he doesn't believe the Lord. However, Krishna is merciful. He is giving him food, protection, life, everything because he is the child. Anyway, father will take care. And then whatever karma he has done, he will take care. Based on that, phala shruti, karma phala, he will give him. In between, there is a very important aspect, something called as the mercy of the Lord's devotees. Somewhere or other, somebody will come, or the Lord Himself will come. Okay, prasadottama. Okay, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned that it's called prasadottama. Prasadottama means prasada means mercy. Suddenly, somebody will come and give you a book, give them a book. Somebody will give them a prasadam, some food eating, and some association. And while they walk, they see him. When a sannyasi comes, everybody will see the sannyasi. So in that way, they get the mercy. They get that particular spark, and with that spark, they will be able to. One of the important aspect of in South India is Lord comes out as Utsava Murti. He comes out. He takes a tour. The main aspect of the tour is everybody gets an opportunity to have the form of the Lord. Lord Jagannath also comes out every year. So when he comes out, he is giving darshan to everybody. So everybody, he is giving his mercy freely. And then by that particular Jivatma's Sukriti, little bit of thing, suddenly it will, and it will surge up when a devotee, so Krishna gives a special thing to his disciples, or his devotees, acharyas. So when an acharya or a pure devotee gives, it will surge more. It will increase, I think, and chances are much more. Okay, so to answer the question, if anybody gets an opportunity to take association of pure devotee or an acharya, even a nastikan, even a non-devotee, even atheist will get an opportunity. Okay, so Pushpal Prabhu will discuss it later. I will see how. I'm not able to convince, but I'm trying to. I make an attempt. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jai.